Hey there guys, and welcome to another Hope Daily. Today we are going to be in Psalm 50, so whether you're going to be watching online with me right now or whether you're going to be watching later on, say hi in the comments, let me know your thoughts on the passage, on the Psalm as we kind of work through it. I've entitled this Psalm for today, What on Earth Can I Give God? Looking at the question and answering the question of what does God desire from us? And thinking about all the sacrifices in the Old Testament and how the Israelites were consumed and busy with offering sacrifices to God. But what are the sacrifices that God desires? So if you've got your Bibles with you, it's in Psalm 50. Get it up in your Bible or on your phone or something like that, but it'd be great to have a look at it together. So it starts off by saying, the mighty one, God the Lord, speaks and summons the earth from the rising of the sun to the place where it sets. From Zion, perfect in beauty, God shines forth. So it's saying that God is ultimately powerful. He is large and in charge. He speaks and summons the earth from the rising of the sun to the place where it sets. God was the one who summoned the creation to come into order. He is the one who summoned the universe to come into order. He is the one who holds all things in the palm of his hand. He is the one that spoke and life came to be. He is the one that spoke and your life came to be. He is the one who is, who summoned your life to exist, for you to exist. He is the one who summoned all things to be, which is amazing. Our God comes and will not be silent. A fire devours before him, and around him a tempest rages. He summons the heavens above and the earth below, that he may judge his people. Gather to me my consecrated ones, who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So that God is the one who is powerful. He is the one who is just and right to pronounce judgment on his people, judgment in favor, and also judgment in disfavor as well. And he says, gather to me my consecrated ones, who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So he's saying, hey, I'm going to gather my people to me. I'm going to gather the people which are mine, the ones who have pledged themselves to me, the ones who have said yes to me, the ones who want to be with me. Now, historically, that was with the old sacrificial system that was with the Israelites, and how they would sacrifice animals to atone for their sins so that they could be part of God's people. But now we have a greater sacrifice through Jesus Christ, which means that the whole world, you and me, can be one with God through that sacrifice, through the covenant, through Jesus Christ. And then he says in verse 9, verse 8, I do not rebuke you for your sacrifices or for your burnt offerings, which are ever before me. Saying that God's people used to constantly lay out these sacrifices before him, and God's saying, hey, well, that's not always a bad thing. But he says, verse 9, I have no need of a bull from your stall or of a goat from your pens, for every animal of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. So God is ultimately the one who has summoned all of creation to be. He owns all of the animal kingdom anyway. He owns all of the world anyway. There is nothing that we can truly give him that isn't his already. I know every bird in the mountains, and all the creatures of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all that is in it. Basically, God is saying, hey, I don't need anything from you. If I were hungry, I would not ask you to give me anything, because I have everything already. The whole world is mine. The whole creation is mine already. There is nothing that you cannot give me that is already mine. Do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Sacrifice thank offerings to God, fulfill your vows to the Most High, and call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you will honor me. Essentially, what God is kind of saying and speaking through this psalm of Asaph, as he kind of writes this and sings this, he's kind of saying, hey, I own everything. Everything is mine already. There is nothing that you cannot give me which is already mine. And so God is kind of saying, so what do I want from you? What do I desire from you? Do I just want to give you? Do I just want you to give me endless sacrifices day after day after day? Well, he says no. But he says, verse 14, sacrifice thank offerings to God, fulfill your vows to the Most High. He's saying, hey, out of all the sacrifices that I want, I don't want things that are just paying for your mistakes. I just don't want things that are atoning for your failures. I want things of thankfulness. I want things of blessing. You know, I want a thankful heart. I want you to be thankful for all that I've given you, for the life that I have given you, for the world and the rich world and the rich life that I have given you. You know, he's speaking to humanity, and he's saying, you know, live with a thankful spirit. You know. So we ask, you know, what on earth can I give God? Well, ultimately, it's a heart of thankfulness. It's a heart of it's a heart of pleasure in all that He has done for us. And then the rest of the psalm, he's kind of like challenging that kind of unjust behavior. So he says, "But to the wicked, God says, what right have you to recite my laws or take my covenant on your lips? You hate my instruction and cast my words behind you. When you see a thief, you join with him. You throw in your lot with the adulteress. You use your mouth for evil and harness your tongue to deceit. You speak continually against your brother and slander your mother's son." You know, but I will rebuke you and accuse you to your face. At the end of verse 21, God's kind of saying, hey, you might offer me loads of sacrifices. You might, sacrifice like an animal a day, you know, speaking to the Jewish people, saying, you're doing all these sacrifices to try and earn my favor, but yet you're not walking in obedience to me. You're not following my desires. You're not caring about what I care about, and you're not living according to how I want you to live. And he's saying that really, you know, you're externally doing, like the right things in terms of like the sacrificial kind of system, but internally, your heart is crooked. You're not seeking to follow God's ways. And then he says at the end, "Consider this, you who forget God, or I will tear you to pieces with none to rescue. He who sacrifices thank offerings honors me, and he prepares the way so that I may show him the salvation of God." Ultimately, he kind of says the same thing at the end as well. He says, hey, what I desire is thank offerings, and the person who offers thank offerings is the one who is walking in obedience to my commandments. He is the one who is going above and beyond the necessary requirement. He is the one going above and beyond the minimum requirement of the law, and he is inclining his heart to God, and that his heart is full of thankfulness and a joy for living to God. And so his heart is in line with God's desires, and so the overflow of that is that he wants to offer thank offerings to God, and that's what ultimately God desires. He wants us to live with a thankful spirit, a worshipful spirit to him. So really, when we ask the question, what on earth can I give God? There isn't anything really that I can give God that is not already his. The one thing that he desires is my heart. The one thing that he desires is for me to love him, to be thankful to him, to worship him, to glorify him with all of my life, and to be thankful in all areas of life. And it reminds me of that hymn. I found that hymn before. I'll just Google it now. In the bleak midwinter, and the last verse of this is just really, really cool. It says, "What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what can I give him? Give my heart." And that's ultimately like the touchstone of what this kind of psalm is about, and what God desires. Like, God doesn't want our stuff. God doesn't want our external practices of religion. He wants our hearts. He wants our thankfulness. He wants our worship. He wants us to glorify him in all that we do. And it makes me think as well as in Romans 12, where Paul has just been talking about the gospel. He's been talking about salvation, about how it was originally part of something that belonged to the Jews, to the Israelites, but now been opened up to the whole world. Through kind of Romans 9, 10 and 11. And then in chapter 12, at the start of chapter 12, he kind of changes the subject, and he says, "Therefore, because of all this amazing stuff, because of this amazing gospel, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy," so in view of his grace, in view of his love, in view of the gospel, "to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." He's saying, you know, in light of the gospel, in light of God's mercy, in light of God's love and grace, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. Sacrifice yourself. Don't give God your stuff. Give God yourself, and give Him your worship. Give Him your praise. Give Him your thankfulness. And even at the start of Colossians, Paul says, you know, I want you to please the Lord in every way. And he lists 4 ways in which we are to please the Lord. He says, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power, and then finally he says, giving joyful thanks, you know, for sharing in the inheritance of His saints. You know, one way in which we are to please God, to live lives in order to please God, is to give joyful thanks to what God has done for us and given us. So what on earth can I give God? I give Him myself, I give Him my heart, I give Him my worship. I incline everything towards glorifying God and praising Him in all that I do. That's what I give Him. So hopefully that's an encouragement for you today, just to let your heart worship God, let your heart be thankful to God, because that is what He desires at the end of the day. Make your life a thank offering, a sacrifice of thanks, a sacrifice of praise to God today. We'll catch up with you on Sunday for the Sunday service, and then we'll be back on the Hope Dailies from Monday. Hopefully you're enjoying these as well. Let us know what you think about them. Yeah, be good to catch up with you guys. God bless, love you lots, and see you Sunday. Bye bye.